Hello everyone and welcome back to the Steemtrail Gaming Podcast. Today is the 27th April of 2019. My name is Kralsek and I will be one of your two hosts for the evening. The second is Tiger Gamer. Hello Tiger, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How about yourself?
Today I'm doing good. This week wasn't that great though, sadly.
Uh,
I was in the hospital with another seizure, so yeah, that wasn't
mm,
as fun. But today I got to see the new Avengers.
Oh, lucky. Hey, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Nah, I won't.
Good.
But there was so many people there. I'm, usually when I'm in the cinema, there's like, 10 people in total there. There were 3 places left free today. That was insane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, originally we were planning, let's just make a reservation today. And that was like Wednesday. And we opened the reservation system just to check how many places are left. And there was like 20 places left in the whole cinema throughout the whole day. And we're like, holy hell. Maybe we should make a reservation.
Was it good though?
Honestly, I like the first one better. The Infinity War. But yeah, it was sort of an end of an era. Well, yeah. We'll have to see what the MCU comes up in the future with. So hopefully they have more great stories to supply us with.
Yeah.
When are you planning to go see it?
Whenever possible.
And what's stopping you? Why don't you go today?
Well, I can't drive, for one. And the nearest movie theater is like 3 or 4 towns over, so...
That sucks. Luckily, we have a multiplex here in the town where I live, so...
Lucky you.
Well, for Czech Republic, the city I live in is actually quite large. It's one of the bigger cities, so... It's only 100,000 people, so for America it's pretty small, but for Czech Republic it's quite large. But either way, we are here to talk about video games. So, what do you say we do that?
Alright, let's do it.
So, what games did you get to play this week?
Well, I only got to play one game this week, and that's this game called Warface. It's created by Crytek. It's a free-to-play multiplayer FPS. It's a mix between Battlefield's realistic gameplay and Call of Duty's multiplayer modes.
Okay.
And I've managed to play like around 2-3 hours of it. Mainly I just played the co-op missions, and I only played one. But that mission, you had to rely on both you and your team to make it to the end of the level. And man, it was freaking hard, but we finally made it to the end of the first co-op mission. And
I gotta say, when you say combination of realistic and arcade, that sort of doesn't blend in together in my mind. How does that work actually?
Well, the realistic gameplay is from the shooting and combat and all that, whereas arcade is more like like Call of Duty's multiplayer modes like deathmatch, free for all, search and destroy and all that. Pretty much like that.
Interesting.
But I will say that one mechanic that I really liked is if you need to get up to like a high position, you can actually like let one of your teammates like boost you up like you see in like in other FPS games in story modes and all that. You might boost up your teammate they can pull you up, which I found pretty cool in a multiplayer game.
Yeah, I can imagine that being cool.
Yeah, and I also got to play a little bit of multiplayer too, and surprisingly, in this game I actually did not suck.
Oh, that's a surprise, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. uh, yeah, though. Of course, it being a free to play game, so far I have not, like experienced like any progress halting.
Mm-hmm.
But in the co-op missions, whenever you die, you either have to let one of your teammates revive you before you fully die,
Mm-hmm.
or spend a token which will revive you, but you only have like a set amount at the beginning, and you can either choose to earn the money to get more, or you can use that money to get weapons, or you can go and buy those tokens with real actual money.
Mm.
And thankfully, I have not had to do that, and I don't plan on doing it. But if you're if you're an FPS guy and you're a fan of these types of games, hey, it's a free to play game. You pretty much have nothing to lose. It's free to try, so why not?
Yeah, whenever there's a free to play game, usually it's worth it to at least try it. Maybe it will, tickle your fancy, but if not, then the only thing you lost is your time, really.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but would you give it your recommendation, or would you say just go play Warframe?
Hey, any game is better than Warframe. Free to play games are better than Warframe, but if you are a fan of FPS games, I will say go and give it a try, because you know me, I'm not a big multiplayer shooter guy. So if you're a fan of those types of games, I'd say, hey, go and give it a try. It's
That's
free.
fair.
Yeah.
So I sadly didn't manage to play a single game this week because, as I said, I spent a few days in the hospital, and they don't really allow you to play there that much, sadly. I did manage to read like 4 books, though, but yeah. That's really not a topic for this podcast.
True. But hey, it's good to read.
Yeah, I read the Discworld books, so those are always fun.
Okay.
So, since we didn't play anything else, let's take a look at the news. What do you say?
Alright, let's do it.
So, let's start with a bit of a continuation of a story that's been running for a few past weeks. And that's sort of more information about the Switch Lite or Mini or whatever you want to call it. So, last week we started with a bit of information coming from Bloomberg, of all places, who claim the Switch Mini will be coming in June. Pretty much saying that they want to pair it with the release of Super Mario Maker 2. And that the price should be somewhere along the lines of $250 or $200 for the Lite version, though there was no direct number on it. But more interestingly, later on this week, Nintendo boss Shuntaro Furukawa said that they have no plans to announce any new hardware this E3, which, as you might know, is happening in June. Which is sort of interesting, conflicting information. Because we do know that Nintendo is planning to release a mini version of the Switch this year. But obviously we do not know any specific dates for it. June did sound like a fair date to me, as that's a great time to release a console because kids are ending in school. A lot of them will want to do something during the summer. There will be a lot of parents who will want to buy presents for their kids if they have good grades.
Yeah.
But because they said no, I'm sort of doubting that it's gonna happen in China. So what's your opinion? Do you think we will see the Switch Lite so early? Do you think we'll see it in June?
Honestly, I don't. Honestly, I don't see them unveiling the Switch Mini at E3, then a week later releasing it,
Mm-hmm.
because they'll want to market the thing a lot more
Mm-hmm.
before they release it. Like in between the reveal and the release date,
Mm-hmm.
they'll want to market that. Otherwise, if they don't market it as well or as long, they don't sell as many. Possibly not won't sell as many units.
Mm-hmm.
So
So what would be your guess for when it's gonna get first marketed and then released?
honestly, I could see them revealing it anytime between now and possibly August, then releasing it between September and December.
Hmm.
That's my guess.
That's a pretty long time from now, though.
Yeah.
I was sort of
But hey,
expecting them trying to hit an earlier market.
yeah, but if you, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember when the Switcher was like the original Switch was revealed, which is
Mm-hmm.
October 21st, 2016, and that was like 5 months before they released Switch.
But yeah,
So
there's a difference between releasing a fully new console
true.
versus releasing just an updated version of a console.
Yeah, true. And also with let's say a good example would be Sony
Mm-hmm.
with their PS4 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
They announced that in September of 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and they released it 2 months later. So it could see something like that too.
Those are good points, honestly. But I'm just sort of sad because I was really hoping that this thing will see the market earlier.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Considering that you're actually hyped for Mario Maker 2. So
Hmm. Obviously, yeah. Um, what bit more interesting news about is the fact that it's not gonna get released so early has left investors pretty disappointed, actually,
huh,
as Nintendo has been on a big rise, in the past time, and that's no surprise with how well the Switch has been doing.
yeah, yeah.
It has pretty much risen. I think it was like 30% in the past year, which is
Hmm.
great numbers. And just an hour after the stock exchange opened, after this news was revealed, Nintendo stock has fallen down by 4% by in just 1 hour.
Huh.
So, do you think maybe numbers could force them to release earlier?
That is a possibility, but honestly, no Nintendo. They move to their own bit of the drum. They don't follow other trends. So
Yeah, they don't have to really because, well, they're Nintendo.
yeah.
They have a dedicated fan base and they've been just doing pretty epic, to be honest.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh, hopefully we get to see the Switch Mini or Lite or whatever it's gonna be called as soon as possible because that's a
Yeah.
piece of hardware I really want to see. I was actually thinking, like, if it hits before Christmas, I might buy one for my parents, for my dad more specifically.
Oh, and get them like Mario Kart or something like that.
Yeah, like Mario Kart is actually a game he's been playing. He and his neighbor they own an old
Yeah.
GameCube.
Yeah. You told me about this.
Yeah, so I've been thinking
That's
maybe
my
I
first.
could buy them like the new one and make them happy.
Yeah, and especially, oh, dude, I hope. for your case, I hope if you plan on getting one for your dad,
Hmm.
I hope it does have the detachable Joy Cons because I mean, like on the regular Switch, if you want to like play with somebody else, you can just take out the other Joy-Con and they can just play together.
Well, more importantly, it needs to be dockable. It needs to be able to connect to the TV, even the light
Yeah,
version. If not, then I'm pretty much out of luck. And if I wanted to get them one, I would have to get them the full version.
yeah. Plus Mario Kart.
Now,
So
there's probably gonna be some deal to get it in a pack or something.
possibly, but yeah, yeah. Hopefully the Switch Mini will have detachable Joy Cons and it will be dockable.
I think it will be dockable. The detachable Joy Cons, those I'm not so sure about, honestly. Especially
Mm,
if it's gonna be a smaller version, because it would mean the Joy Cons would also be smaller, and they aren't
true.
already. Once you detach them, they aren't
Oh,
the most biggest
dude.
of controllers.
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
if if that's the case, you're well actually more than because freaking Switch controllers are freaking expensive.
Yeah, they are. I will give you that one very, very without any question.
If you want to give your dad a Switch with Mario Kart, you're more than you're. It's better to just get the full price instead of like buying the Switch Mini, which would be like 200 to 250, than paying like freaking $80 or $50 for the one Joy-Con or $80 for the full two pack Joy-Con or 70 for the Pro Controller, and then having to get Mario Kart as well, which I would like really like over here in the US like up to like close to like 400.
Mm.
Whereas with the regular Switch, you can just get that for like around 300 and uh just get them, and hopefully it'll be bundled with Mario Kart, which would be a lot cheaper. So
Well, I will definitely run it through a calculator before I buy anything.
yeah, do that.
Okay, let's move on to the second piece of news, and this one is about the Epic Game Store.
Hmm.
And there have been some things that are good about the Epic Game Store, some things that are bad about the Epic Game Store. But there was one thing that the Game Store has been sort of battling over with Steam, and that is exclusives.
Mm.
So if you're by some miracle been just left out of this, there are some games that are going to be completely exclusive to the Epic Game Store, meaning they will not appear on Steam, pretty much. Some games that have been included in this are actually Hades, obviously, yeah, games from Epic themselves, like Borderlands 3 and a few others. And a lot of gamers have been pretty angry about this.
Hmm.
And I think for actually pretty understandable reasons, because I personally very much dislike exclusives from a consumer point of view. I understand them from a point of view of the guy who's selling them,
Yeah. Yep.
but yeah, just the fact that it means you need to install another piece of software that otherwise you wouldn't have to have in your computer, and especially in this day and age when every piece of software you have in your computer is collecting data, sending them somewhere God knows where they're getting, you know,
Mhm.
worked over and very likely sold to third parties. The,
Yep.
the lesser amount of software I can have in my computer, the happier I am. And
honestly,
mhm.
honestly, if someone came out with like a I don't know like a compiler to where like it doesn't have to you don't have to open up all the different software or whatever, You just have everything in just one place. Your Epic Games, your Steam, all that stuff.
I would be honestly happy, and Steam sort of has this feature where you can add even
Right.
games that aren't on Steam to your library, so you can launch them through Steam. But
Yeah.
but you still usually need that piece of hard software in your computer because the games they check whether it's running before they run themselves.
Yeah.
And the thing is, boss from Epic, Tim Sweeney, has came out, and he actually said that if Steam lowered the cut they are taking from developers per sale of game, they would no longer have exclusives apart from the ones that they are already contractually obligated to having. So, before we go into the discussion over whether the cut is appropriate, I sort of want to know your personal opinion on exclusives because you are a console player and exclusives are,
Yeah.
let's say, closer to your heart.
Sure. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, on PC, okay, first on PC, me being a console player, my point of view is, I mean, yeah, you can install the Epic Game Launcher for free. You don't have to pay like a freaking, for example, like an extra $200, $300 just to get the freaking hardware or software to freaking play said games. Whereas like on consoles, like if I want to like play like an Xbox exclusive that I really want to play, I have to go out and get an Xbox One, get the game, come back, and install it.
Mm.
Whereas on PC, all you have to do is install the software, boot it up, log in, freaking down to get the game that you want.
Mm.
So, but yeah, though exclusives, yeah, on the consumer standpoint, yeah, it does suck that you have if you want to play a certain game on a certain console, you have to have the console in the first place. But also, in terms of like the PC, one thing I did not like is when like let's say Metro Exodus, for example,
Mm-hmm.
that game was marketed for Steam.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be on Steam, but 3 weeks prior to release, they removed the game from Steam in order to freaking make it exclusive for the Epic Game Store, which I do not like. I do
Mm-hmm.
not like that. But other than that, like games that have not been released yet and haven't been marketed for Steam yet, and that are going to be Epic exclusives. Honestly, if I was a PC player, I would say okay, I'll just go and download the Epic Game Store and don't give a crap.
Well, the thing is, it's okay when you have like three companies who have their own store. It's three pieces of software. But just at this point, you have to have Steam, whether you like it or not. You very likely have BattleNet from Blizzard Activision.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good chance that you have to have Uplay. A good chance that you have to have the everybody's favorite EA piece of crap that I don't want to name. Then you very likely have GOG Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Then you very likely nowadays going to have the Epic Game Store.
Mm-hmm.
And just imagine how this is going to continue on in the future. Just
Oh,
today,
yeah.
that's 6 pieces of software. 6 pieces of software that launch with your computer every time. Because that's the way they're set up.
Mm-hmm.
That's 6 accounts you need to take care of. That's 6 companies that have access to your personal data. That's 6 companies that you very likely submitted your credit card number to.
Mm-hmm.
That's 6 potential avenues of attack for hackers.
Mm-hmm.
And you might say, but yeah, they're big companies, they will not get hacked. How long is it since Sony was the one who got hacked? Like, just a few years?
2011.
Yeah, that's just a few years. Like,
8 years to be exact.
yeah, but you know, every company that is added to the rooster, every piece of software is a potential route for attack, is a potential route to get your information stolen. And if I just go even the most obvious way, it's just another piece of bloatware that you have to have in your computer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I buy a phone, I'm one of the things that makes me buy a phone from Xiaomi, to be more precise, is the fact that they don't have any bloatware in their phones, and anything that's there can be uninstalled. I hate when I buy a phone and there's like 7 pieces of software I will never ever use, but I cannot uninstall it. And this is essentially forcing me into the same route. But back to the exclusives and the cut the individual stores are taking. So Epic has told us that they're taking 12% from every sale, which might sound like a lot until you know that Steam is taking 30% from every sale, which is an insanely high number. And I agree with Tim Sweeney here that Steam could very likely lower their cut. Though a better question is, why would they?
Yeah.
And having some competition on the market is actually a reasonable way to do it. But
yeah,
I just feel like exclusives is the worst way to do it in terms of being nice to the consumer. It's being nice to the developer for sure, and being nice to the developers is important. But what about the consumer? Aren't there better ways to fight for the consumer than essentially taking products hostage and saying, okay, if you want to play this game, you also have to have our piece of software? Like, just off the top of my head, why can't they, for example, just offer me a better refund service? You know, one that is super easy to work with, and like, instead of being 2 hours worth of playing the game, it's like 6 hours of worth of playing the game before I can return it. Why can't they do something like that? Can't you see some better avenues to fight for the consumer than just taking products hostage?
Well, like I said earlier, me being a console gamer, I honestly don't see them taking these products as hostage. Now if it was tied behind a console, I could see that. But since you're on PC and you can just go and download the software, play the game if you really want to play it, beat the game, finish it, uninstall the game, and uninstall the software.
But still, they collected the data. They already have the data. I had to submit. I had to pay with my credit card. And even if I uninstalled the software, I still had to have it in my computer for a good amount of time.
Honestly, if you're worried about your credit card, them having your credit card information, I don't know if they have like an Epic Game Store card or anything like that you can get online or something like that. Because then you can just go and get a prepaid card and just put in the code for that and just get the game that you want from the Epic Game Store. if you don't want your credit card on there.
Well, I could do a much easier thing. Actually, my bank offers me like a one-time generator credit card.
Hmm.
So I could use that, but still, I have to input my name, I have to input my date of birth, and the software is running while I'm playing, collecting information about how I'm playing the game.
True.
But mostly, I just don't like the fact that they're forcing me to install their software to play a game.
Hmm.
Yeah, obviously, I'm installing the game, but I want to install the game. I don't want to install your crappy launcher that will be launched for 7 seconds and then run in the background, collect information. Why is that? Why? Like, I just don't like launchers in general, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, honestly, I think it would just be better if you can just get the game from the launcher, don't have to run it in the freaking background, and just freaking play the game without having to use the launcher.
Yeah, the way GOG does it, essentially, yeah. That's like, sure, if you want the launcher, you can have it. If you don't want it, you can just click the desktop shortcut for the game and it will run either way.
Yeah.
I understand that it's also an issue of IP protection because the games that get released on GOG are very often pirated very quickly. But still, I can just see so much features that could be much more competitive compared to Steam. Yeah, and if you want to be the developer friendly stuff. By the way, your camera just twisted.
I know. Yeah.
So,
Fixing that right now.
if you want to be the developer friendly and you want to be the ones that say, you know what, if you want to support the developers, then buy the game with us. And you know what? If they had just that, I might very often just buy the game from them because I will know the developer gets more money.
Yeah.
But just because they're making it tied to exclusives, I'm just like, man, why? I used to hate exclusives on consoles because they made no sense to me from a consumer point of view. I understand it from the developer point of view and from the console manufacturer point of view because they are the stuff that brings consumers to your platform.
Yeah.
But from the consumer point of view, I'm just angry that you're essentially forcing me to use your platform even if I might not want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's one of the reasons why I still haven't bought a Switch to this point. I love the games. They're great. But the fact that I have to buy a Switch just to play them is just like, I don't really want to buy a Switch because of 5 games. And that's what I love about PC. There's so many games here. And they aren't tied to any piece of hardware or anything. And you might be like saying, well, technically they aren't because I cannot play them on my PlayStation, but that's not really the PC's fault, that's more Sony's fault.
Yeah, honestly, even though I got like all 3 consoles, preferably if it's not exclusive to like another, like to the Switch or the Xbox, if it's on PS4, I'll get for PS4.
And I'm pretty sure if there are plenty of PC games that you would love to play on the PlayStation if you could.
Definitely.
And most of them aren't really like hardware tied to anything. It's just that Sony said, no, we will not have these games. For some reason. Because hardware-wise, the new consoles, apart from the Switch, are just computers. And even the Switch is technically just a mobile phone.
Yeah.
It's running an ARM processor. And PlayStation and the Xbox are both running x86. chips. Even the Xbox, the system, is just a modified version of Windows.
Yeah, and also, like saying good on Microsoft for actually bringing some of their they're starting to bring their exclusives over to PC. So that's good on them.
Yeah, and I praised them for that very much.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that, on one hand, I am hoping that Steam lowers their cut. I don't think they will ever go as low as Epic Games will go, but they could definitely go to something like 15%.
Yeah.
Maybe like let's say they would go, I don't know, 20% for the smallest of guys, 17% for medium-sized guys, and 15% for the biggest guys.
Honestly, I think they're just going 15% for all developers, not just because I mean, freaking having a 20 cut from like indie developers to like having like a 17 cut from AA developers and having 15% for freaking AAA developers. I mean, dude, that if that were the case, that should be the other way around. The indies should only have to pay 15%.
You'd think so, but anybody who knows anything about business would say no. And the reason for that is just because, the big guys do have more bargaining power.
True.
So they will have the bargaining power to make the number lower. And I think they actually made the number lower for like AAA titles last year.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. If the game made enough money, yeah, they would lower the cut. But honestly, though, I think it should just be like an equal percentage all around. So no matter what kind of developer you are, it'll entice you to stay on that platform. So
yeah, I know. If it was like a single number for everybody, I think a realistic number is 20%. And let's face it, Steam does have also the bargaining power to have the number higher than Epic Games. So,
sure.
We'll just have to see how the story plays out. But
yeah,
I just hope it doesn't play out by the stores just saying, look, we have this game and this is why you should have our store installed. Because really that just seems like the worst way to do it in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on into a story that's a bit more interesting, to say the least. This story is coming from the Society for Research in Child Development. So, as you might guess, this is some science. And this society performed a study in the past 6 years. Which, man, this is a long time for make a study.
Yeah.
On almost 900 Norwegian children. They started when the kids were 6, and yeah, it took 6 years, so it concluded when the kids were 12. And it was a study about whether gaming affects social development of children. And the results are, to say the least, fascinating. Because somehow it seems that gaming negatively impacts kids' development, but only if they are female. Which seems weird when you hear it like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does.
So, according to the study, boys' social development was not impacted by video games, but girls who spent more time gaming earlier in their adolescence displayed weaker social skills about 2 years later.
Hmm.
And I'm sort of fascinated by this. Just why would it be girls that have their social skills affected?
Yeah.
What is your opinion on this?
Honestly, I think it honestly to me it does sound sounds pretty weird to me that um games affect any person's social skills, considering that a lot of games today are are social based.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, honestly, I don't know what to make of this.
Okay, so let me actually come into a bit more here. Uh,
Yeah.
there are two more findings that might bring a bit of light onto this. So the next finding is girls who play video games may be more isolated socially and have less opportunity to practice social skills with other girls, which may affect their later social competence. And children who struggled socially at ages 8 and 10 were more likely to spend more time playing video games at ages 10 and 12.
Hmm.
So, from this, to me, it actually sounds like it has become the norm for young teenage and adolescent boys to play games. And because it is the norm for them, when they play games, they aren't ostracized
True.
by the
True. Yeah.
rest of the boys, thus developing their social skills
Yeah.
normally.
Yeah.
But within girls, gaming may have not yet become that big of a hobby.
Yeah.
And thus,
I mean,
when you have girls who game, they are more likely to be ostracized.
hmm.
What do you think of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I can see that, but also to kind of bring bring some more light to this. Me, I have two younger sisters, and me and my brother, we got our first game system when I was like around 4, and he was like around 6,
Mm-hmm.
and so my two younger sisters, they grew up with games and all that as well, and yeah, there was. Yeah, of course. I think this just runs in the family. But like my younger sister, when she was first going to school, I mean
Mm-hmm.
my yeah, not my youngest, my other sister Reagan. When she first started school, she was like shy and all that. She would only like whisper to
Mm-hmm.
like the teacher or something like that. And but she grew out of that. But she's still an introvert, just like we all are. But also like my youngest sister Peyton, she 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 actually got in gaming a lot more than my sister Reagan did, and she is very social. She doesn't give a crap what other people think of her.
Hmm.
So
Well, yeah, but anecdotal evidence compared to statistics.
yeah.
So the study lead Lars Wittstrom, who is a professor of psychology, one of the co-authors, he said, youth who struggle socially might be more inclined to play games to fulfill their need to belong and their desire for mastery because gaming is easily accessible and may be less complicated for them than face-to-face interactions.
Yeah.
Which honestly sounds pretty plausible to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Also, the study did have a lot of more findings, for example, the fact that children who have a larger body mass index often also have worse social skills because they tend to be ostracized, and thus they often tend to play more games. It's not that they get fat because they play games, they play games because they're fat, which is sort of interesting.
Yeah, and also this study was when did the study finish? Do you know? Like what year?
It was published this year.
So 2019.
Now I'm trying to see when. I don't see when did it finish, but it published this year. So the thing is, usually takes a bit of time to compile the data. I would say either this year or last year it finished. Very
Okay,
likely.
so this study started back in 2012, 2013,
Mm-hmm.
and if this study were to like happen like back like in the early 2000s, they would have definitely got different results because back then, I don't know how it was over where you live, but over here, gaming was not as mainstream as it is now.
No, no, by any means it wasn't.
Yeah, so back then it wasn't as socially like I'll say socially
It's
cool to freaking play games. And if you talk about like if you talk about a game, like people like go, most people like go, what the heck are you talking about?
mm. And
So
usually they would consider, oh, watch out, he's going to be the next mass shooter.
yeah, that too. So yeah, honestly though, it really comes down to like what the social norm is, depending on when the study started and when it ended.
Mm.
Because if this study was done back then, there would have been a lot of different results.
Mm. On top of
But
that, the number of people who were in the study was fairly low.
yeah,
Uh, 873 kids isn't that big of a number for statistical sample sizes. 6 years is a great time for such a study, though. It's a
yeah,
good amount of time for something like this. So, yeah, in general, you're right that we will probably have to wait a bit longer before we start making any real conclusions because it's only now that gaming is becoming part of the mainstream culture. And honestly, I think we actually have mobile phones to thank for that, smartphones to be more
yeah.
precise.
Hmm.
Because even kids get to play games very early on in their lives. And it's
Yep.
and even like the poor kids have a smartphone nowadays.
Hmm.
Like you don't see some. You would have to be insanely poor to have a non-touch phone nowadays
Hmm.
anywhere in the first world. So yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I certainly want to see more studies that like this done.
Oh yeah.
That
Same here.
they're important, and
Oh yeah.
whether we
Yeah.
like it or not, gaming is here and is gonna stay.
Oh yeah. Most definitely. And shoot, uh, hopefully the more studies that get published on gaming, and you know, the more that get published, the less politicians have to freaking make all these fear statements about gaming being banned and all that crap.
Hmm.
So keep on doing the studies.
Yep. Because for some reason, everybody thinks that gaming is awful.
Yep.
At least from the old generation.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to our last piece of news. And this one, I actually made a separate video about this one. Because I think this is a rather big question. So there was a PlayStation gamer who is a self-admitted racist
Huh.
who got banned from the PlayStation Network for being a racist, for
Wow.
violating Sony's hate speech policy.
Huh.
And yeah, that would be fair, but the thing is, not only did he get banned from playing online, he also got banned from accessing his gaming library.
Ah.
So he actually sent an email to one angry gamer. So let's read this email. My account was temporarily banned for 1 week for calling people F words and N words. This includes the temporary revoking of the licenses for all digital downloads in my library. However, a game on a disc still works just fine. You might not agree with my actions since I know you're not a racist, but I am, and I don't care. It's fun to talk S online, and most people are racists anyway. Plus, those terms are thrown around like hotcakes, so who gives an S? As I know, you know, speech restrictions are a slippery slope and tend to go beyond the initial reasons for their installment.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not a free speech extremist. I don't think that everything should be free speech. And the thing is, one thing that you should understand, in Czech Republic, we don't have free speech the way you know it. Free speech is not a thing that you get constitutionally. There are topics, for example, Nazism, that are just banned here in the Czech Republic. You are forbidden from promoting nationalistic tendencies, and you can go to jail for that. So, our free speech culture is quite different from yours. On the other hand, our free speech culture is very different from yours because a lot of people in my country still remember how it looked when free speech didn't exist at all during the communist era.
Yeah.
So on one hand, we value it very heavily because we still remember what it's like to not be able to criticize our government, for example. On the other hand, we also have topics that are just forbidden. So let me just directly ask you a question. Do you think he should have been revoked access to his games because he was a racist?
Honestly?
Oh, by the way, it was on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah. Honestly, Sony is in their right to ban him for violating their terms of service. But I would also say it depends on the way he was the way he was acting. If he was just saying those words, out of the blue, and he was just saying them just to freaking say them, and they were not malicious in any way, I'd say he should not have been banned if he was not being malicious towards any certain person. And it does suck that he did get a ban for a week, but hopefully after that week he does get access to his games back. So
I should also say that he stated that he is going to continue being a racist. So that's I think that should actually be mentioned because let's face it, banning somebody from such services is very unlikely to make them not racists in the future.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, what Sony did was good?
Yeah. And also for the guy that's going to continue these actions, honestly, if also what he should do is just so that way he doesn't get risk. He doesn't get risk being banned again. Is do not use the mic while playing online. Just say what you want to say to where other people can't hear you. Because if people can hear you, you'll get banned again.
So, you think even him being preventing from accessing games he paid for is okay? Because
Honestly,
I'm 100% fine with him getting either temporarily or permanently banned from playing with other people. But
now
when it
that
comes to having restricted access to things you paid for, there is where I'm not saying
yeah,
the Sony guys who banned him did something wrong. I'm just not sure it was right.
yeah, honestly, me being me being a digital only player now, where I got most of my games digitally, if they restricted my access to my library for a dumbass reason, yeah, I would be pissed. But yeah, that ain't right there ain't right. If you paid for the game, it's supposed to be yours. But if you're buying it digitally, honestly, in this day and age, you don't own the game anymore. They can
Yeah,
freaking
you don't own shit. Like even on PC, that's not the case. You're essentially renting the games. You're
yeah.
renting the access to the games.
Mhm.
And yeah, they were completely like within their rights to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm more going on a moral basis here.
Mhm.
And that is the point where I'm just completely not sure either way, to be honest.
Yeah. Honestly, the way I see it, especially over in the U.S., like racial slurs are like a big deal
Hmm.
because of all the crap that's happened in the past 100 years, and honestly, if he, if I think that would be alright if he doesn't, hurt or harm anybody, and like let's say for example, like he calls somebody an N word, and like okay, yeah, sure, but if he like goes, okay, hey there, N word, go and kill yourself, that right there would be bad.
Hmm.
So
You want to know? You want to learn a fun fact?
what's that?
Do you know what's the origin of the word slave?
No,
It comes from the word Slavic.
huh,
The
huh,
original slaves were essentially people from my region.
huh. Wow,
Like if you
that's
go really in the past, like really back into the past.
yeah, and I mean honestly, I so yes, of course, slavery is bad, but honestly, slavery has been around for like thousands of years, and we abolished slavery back in the 1860s over here in the U.S. and people are still like, "Oh, my ancestor was a slave." You weren't, so get over it. If that person's still alive, yeah, well, sorry, but get over it.
Yeah, like it's not like my people are complaining that our ancestors were slaves,
Yeah, seriously.
and they were, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, either way, that's it for the news for today. We ended on a very optimistic note there, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Ah,
Let's take it into something more optimistic. Let's take a look at some interesting games next week. And do you
yeah,
mind if I start?
go for it.
Okay, I would like to start with a game called Epitasis.
Okay.
And this is an open world first-person puzzle game that
Huh.
is coming out on the 1st of May. And while I personally am not that big of a fan of puzzle games, this one just looks gorgeous. And the soundtrack, just even in the trailer, sounds amazing. You essentially find some interdimensional portal and you're traveling this world that's just filled with puzzles and you're trying to find your way home.
Huh.
So yeah, if you're a fan of puzzle games, Epitasis might be completely your thing on the 1st of May.
Huh.
What about you? What do you have to recommend for next week?
The first game I have to recommend is called Fade into Silence. It's a third-person post-apocalyptic survival roguelike game.
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much play as a guy who has to protect his daughter, and you have to rebuild your camp and gain followers and try and survive. And if you die a certain amount of times, that's it. You have to start the game all over while keeping some perks.
Okay. But this thing actually came out to PC a pretty long time ago, didn't it?
Actually, I think it's coming out of early access. So
Really? Yeah, because to me it seems it came out like in 2017 to early access on PC.
yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Oh,
So yeah,
either way.
it's coming out before release on Tuesday, April 30th for I don't know how much. It's going to PC. It's already on PC, but Xbox One and PS4 as well. So, and it seems really interesting.
Okay, I have a game that reminds me of really old school sort of games.
Hmm.
This game is called Elros Origins Whitsun, and this is an action RPG with your pretty typical story, you know, necromancers, everything is corrupted, the cataclysm is coming. But the thing is, this game actually reminds me of old school RPGs such as Gothic or even like Oblivion or something like that. Though it's obviously being done on much lower of a budget. Like it's fairly obvious, for example, from the way the dialogue system is being done. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad. And any old school RPG in my mind could be good.
Yeah.
The question is, will it be good? That is the much harder question, and we will just have to see in that sort of part. So this thing is coming out on the 29th. I would actually wait a little bit before there are some reviews that come out of this one. If you are a fan of old school RPGs, then maybe give it a try. If you're a fan of only RPGs such as Skyrim, then I maybe wait a little bit.
Okay. The same game I got to recommend is Fail Seal Arbiter's Mark, which is inspired by Final Fantasy Tactics, and it's pretty much a turn-based strategy game where you fight battles and all that. And if you grew up playing the original Final Fantasy Tactics, chances are that this game's already on your radar, and you're probably looking forward to this game. And yeah, it's coming out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One for $30 on April 30th. So
I would actually love to see this one come out on mobile phones, and then I would buy it for my girlfriend. She would love it on her phone.
okay.
And I think it could work on a phone nowadays pretty easily.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, and I have one more game, and this is called Mordhau. And this is a multiplayer PvP medieval brawler.
Huh.
And yeah, as you might guess, you get to play as one of the classes and you try to survive as long as possible, kill as many as enemies as you can. It seems to be trying to be as realistic as possible, which seems to be sort of a thing for medieval games as of late.
Yeah, true.
Uh, it's not a game I'm gonna play. I'm not that big of a fan of PvP. But
Yeah.
if you're a fan of PvP and you like realism and you like LARPing, this might totally be your thing.
Okay.
It's coming out on the 29th, so in 2 days. And yeah,
Hmm. Okay.
hopefully it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for the games I wanted to recommend. Do you have anything else you wanted to recommend?
No, that's it.
Then let's slowly bring this show to an end. And
Yeah.
as we do always, let's do it via a bit of shilling. So you can find myself on YouTube at Crawlsets Gaming, where I do video game reviews, and on Steam at Crawlsec, where I do essentially the same thing and a bit of science. And occasionally I talk about video game news.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube as Tiger Gamer, where right now I'm working on a video for Dreams, and I'll be posting it on Steam as well, which you can find on Steam at Tiger Gamer as well. So yeah, I look forward to that.
And with that being said, that's going to be it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you did, please consider giving us a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. If you are watching on Steam, maybe you want to give us an upvote and follow the blog. Either way, be sure to leave a comment and be sure to tune in next week for the next podcast.
Mm-hmm.
See you guys later with more gaming content.
Y'all have a good one.